7 world-class award-winning plugins used by countless professional engineers in post, broadcast, music, and even live sound. Join the elite who own Sonox Elite because you're worth it.
Wait, what? Because you're worth it?
Cut! We're here at Musikmesse 2014 and I'm with Dom on the Bitwig stand, and Dom's going to tell us about Bitwig Studio, which is a new DAW. It's been in beta for a while, we've heard some things about it, but Dom, do you want to give us a quick introduction and a walkthrough of what it's capable of?
Yeah, absolutely. So we call it the next generation music creation software, which is quite a term, but we try to explain that it's a whole new development. We just took our experience of 20 years of sequencer history, what we really love to use. We know all the products. I, for example, started with trackers, used Cubase 1 on an Atari, then I was a Logic Head for years. I was really into live for many years, and we now try to come up with a complete new product that grabs all the best concepts we know and tries to improve on the concepts that we thought there's still room for improvement. So, complete new development. It runs on Mac, Windows, and Linux, which is also pretty interesting, I think. As we could start from scratch, it was easier as for other companies to do that because we don't have to port the software. We would develop on it on all 3 platforms at the same time. So yeah, why next generation? It has a highest 32-bit floating point audio engine. It does 32-bit and 64-bit bridging.
Okay.
It even does sandboxing for VST plugins. This means a plugin that we load will get executed in its own process. If it crashes, it's not crashing our host. As we don't execute the code, it runs like a standalone application.
Okay.
And this is really great for performance software if you be on stage. You even get a little window saying, this plugin crashed, want to reload it while the song is running.
Okay, so it doesn't even touch the audio engine, basically. You're not crashing anything out
Exactly,
at all.
exactly. It's really running in parallel to the audio engine.
Okay.
And even the audio engine and the user interface are running side by side. We have we can open multiple projects. Just as you maybe know from your browser, you get tabs.
Okay.
And you can just drag and drop between those clips, devices, tracks, whatever. And the track that you want to play, the project you want to play, you just activate the audio engine for that on the top left orange button over there. So that's why I like to call it the next generation music software. We don't drag around old code like for 10 or 15 years. We could really start with the latest technology stuff from scratch.
So in terms of what it's capable of for performance and as a recording software, well, what are you doing with that? What's it all about? It looks like you've got clips there going on.
Exactly, you have the old approach with a normal arrange view. You can put that to the side. This would be like in Cubase and Logic, all the old DAWs that we basically know. But we also have a clip launcher, something that other software like Ableton Live pioneered in, for example. But we put the clip launcher also side by side to the arrangement so that you can see it at the same time.
Yeah.
And we like to call it a music creation software. We are, especially in version 1, not aiming at replacing Pro Tools or Cubase or whatever. Basically all those DAWs where you would sit in a big studio, a band comes in, and your duty would be now to track them and edit them and mix them down. We want to do something where you create music in. If you take a look what is around the music, in the charts, in the clubs, whatever, music gets created in the sequencers nowadays. It's not that you write your song at home, go to the studio, and there you record it, but it really starts to live and starts to grow in the sequencer. So we try to somehow merge a bit of the sound design workflow with the production workflow and the arrangement workflow. And that's why it's music creation more than a pure editing DAW.
Okay, so also, do you want to talk us through some of the effects that you have? Because you do some interesting things with being able to load several instances into XY grids and things like that. There's some fun stuff going on in there.
That is exactly what I mean about merging sound design and production things. What we have is, for example, we have the usual things like effects, instruments that you all know from other sequences. But we also have things like containers. And a container is a plugin that does not do sound on its own. Let's start with an XY instrument. This one I really like. This is a container that gives you the possibility to put a plugin into every of those 4 corners. I put 4 instruments in there, I play, and I can morph between those. I can save that whole as a package, and so yeah, there you are, sound design within the sequencer itself.
That's very cool.
It goes further. We have a multi-band effects container. I just set the split frequency, and I can put in 2 plugins in those 2 slots. All those things work with our own plugins as well as VSTs, which is really great, because this takes us to the next thing that doesn't do audio on its own. Those are our modulators. Imagine you have a plugin and it's missing an LFO. You just grab the plugin. Let's take our synthesizer, the polysynth. Instruments, polysynth, and now you throw polysynth into that effect insert slot. Now polysynth is living more or less inside of that LFO modulator plugin, and I can assign now the LFO to whatever parameter I like using what we called our unified modulation system.
Okay, and
this is just by clicking on LFO and then click and dragging on the parameter to get that modulation. Use that system within the synthesizer instead of a modulation matrix. I can click on velocity and put velocity on something. We use it for macro controls as well as for those modulator plugins.
So then you can map that to a controller or whatever.
You can map the macro controls to a controller, and it's really only modulating. It's not that it's hardwired to the knob. No. And a lot of other products, then you can't change that knob anymore, but only the macro control. But we are just modulating everything.
Right, okay.
So that you have always access to the parameters to change them yourself. Speaking of the LFO, it doesn't stop there. You can put a VST into that slot. Now you have LFOs for that VST that might not have been equipped with LFOs. A lot of people are disappointed if I tell them that in version 1.0 we don't have sidechaining for VST plugins.
Right.
We have something better, more or less. As I showed you, that is our audio mod. That's an envelope follower. And I can set our envelope follower to listen to any track in the project, throw again a VST or one of our devices into it, and now I can basically sidechain whatever I want to sidechain. I have a plug-in compressor that is not a sidechain compressor. I can make it pump. I can even sidechain the cutoff now from a synthesizer that would not have that ability. And those are all the functions and features that we think of as more like meta features, killing more little features you would have to take into account, have a bigger idea and make it a bit more user-friendly. So
also you've got, this is a Nectar keyboard here from the guys just over here, but you're working quite closely with Nectar on the integration of their control surfaces and their controllers generally.
On our side, it's interesting that we offer a JavaScript API in between Bitwig as a software and your MIDI controller. This means you can use JavaScript to translate MIDI messages to whatever they should do in our software. You get a big list of, that's a reference list of the API, where you can see how to maybe navigate tracks, navigate plugins, create a clip. We made the Launchpad. We turned it into a TR-style running light sequencer that sequences notes directly into clips. Because I like stuff like the old TR machines, I like machine, but there's a layer in between. I have the machine VST, for example, and I have to get the content from there into the sequencer. And again, let's merge that directly into the sequencer. This JavaScript API is public. Anyone who wants to dig into that can script things, and Tim did a great job on scripting it for the panorama. He did a step sequencer. You can just hold a note, put a step in. You can set up the velocity for every step with the faders. You can control all our instruments. You get the preset names of our instruments in the display, and so on. It's really a great integration. It's just possible with any product out there.
Excellent. So, how much is Bitwig Studio going to cost then, and when's it going to be available?
It will be available in 2 weeks, March 26th. And it will be 299 euros.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time, Dom.
Thanks too.
Cheers.
Bye.